On News Now tonight, 30 federal government college students teacher regain freedom after 6 months of abduction. Mali military interim leaders to hold elections in 4 years. ECOWAS meets in Ghana. At least 164 people reported dead in Kazakhstan anti-government protests. Thanks for joining us on News Now. I am Maureen Menong-Ezigwe. The 30 abducted students of Federal Government College Birnin-Yori in Kebbi State and a teacher have regained their freedom after spending 6 months in captivity. Special Advisor on Media to Kebbi State Governor Yahya Serki confirmed the release via a statement issued on Saturday. The spokesman said the released victims would undergo medical screening before being handed over to their respective families. Sarki thanked security agencies and congratulated President Muhammadu Buhari for the release. The death toll in the recent bandit attacks on Anka and Bukuyam local government areas of Zamfara state has risen to 58, according to government sources. At least in both local government and the state government. Some unofficial estimates peg the death toll at about 200. Governor Bello Matawale visited the injured personnel on Saturday, giving the assurances that military troops are determined to flush the bandits out of the state. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Umar Farouk, has condemned the recent killings in Zamfara state. The minister made her position known following the invasion of 5 communities and killing of over 200 people in Anka and Bukuyam local government areas of the state. Describing the banditry as horrific, Umar Farouk directed that relief materials be sent to internally displaced persons in the state to cushion the effects of the sudden displacement. Well, joining us on the news now is a former director of the DSS, Mr. Dennis Amakri. Hello, Mr. Dennis.
Good evening. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
All right.
We also have joining him security consultant, Mr. Tony Avoyekan.
It's a pleasure. Good evening. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank God. Happy New Year.
I wish you the same, but I'm just not happy. The Zamfara situation, one attack too many.
If the government is not ready to take it headlong. Zamfara is not like Borno, it's not going to be like Maiduguri, like Yuguri, like Yobe, or like Adamawa. Zamfara most likely may be hotter than as it is now, because it's just you do a juxtaposition with what is happening in the Niger Delta region. Zamfara is laden with gold. And for such region, the government has been very pretentious about that because the measure of security that is put in place in the Niger Delta, especially because they are being called now terrorists. Now, but look at it from the fact that those that are sponsoring and those that are behind these several attacks, where do they get their funds from? Who are their sponsors? Now, until the government nip it right from that,
iceberg. What's your take on that?
Definitely, I agree that it's the tip of the iceberg because when you look at it, there was almost time. Now, at that time, we warned that this guy might not be just coming out honestly, because immediately the next day, more people were taking in again, you know. So, what is playing out? Just like Dr. Tony have said, there is resource. Operations.
Well, now that they've been branded, categorized as terrorists, a much-awaited move, how do you see the game being changed now with this, fight that we are having with this terrorists? And then, of course, the supply of the Tucana jets that, has been made available to Nigeria. How do you see things changing?
Now, there is this sales agreement that we have with the United States. In fact, it was not even, that was a part of the agreement, because the United States itself, since 1976, had this Arms Export Control Act of 1976, which stops anybody buying any kind of armament from the United States to use it for civilian purposes. It is supposed to be used only on either terrorist or military. Now, of course, the government, realizing this, had gone to court and then declared these people as terrorists. Fine. But now that they've been declared terrorists, we have people like Bello Toji coming out to say, oh, he wants to negotiate.
Bandit is attended to through the normal criminal jurisprudence of the country without the full instrumentality of force as it were. Now you will see that there was restriction on the use of certain weaponry and arms and ammunition, because they are presumed to be more or less like common thieves. That's why you call them bandits. But now the implication is this: those that were sympathetic to them, those that have come all out to support them against them as terrorists, not as bandits. Rules of engagement and all this stuff like that. So you will not see that the way the military will attend to them, even when it comes to the arrest and prosecution, they are going to be prosecuted under the Terrorism Prevention Act and no longer under the normal criminal act as it were. So you see that it's a big world of different entirely. Those that are connected to them will be charged or prosecuted as being, supporters and the sponsors of terrorism and not that of banditry and the like. You will not see that it will be difficult for people like Sheikh Gumi and the like to come out all out with those type of defense and those type of excuses why you should do this and why you should not do this for them and all those stuff like that. Right. Those funny stories you hear will definitely change. because they are now terrorists, and they are now going to be treated as such.
Okay, well, this sounds like a good place to take a pause from this discussion. We'll have to do this again some other time. Hopefully it won't be because they invaded another community, but to see that things have improved and then, you know, ask how we can even improve further. Thank you so much, Mr. Tony Ofoyeto, security consultant, and Mr. Dennis Amakre, former director of the DSS. Thank you so much for your time and insight.
Thank you.
Well, moving over to other stories, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has promised to empower the wives of army officers at 9th Brigade Garrison Cantonment Ikeja with skill acquisition. He also spoke about adding infrastructures to schools in the barracks. He made this commitment during his welcome address as the special guest of honor at the West Africa Social Activities to mark the end of Troops Training 2021. PlusTvAfrica's defense correspondent Destiny Momo has more.
It was an evening to unwind as culture, talents, thug.
Publicly acknowledge and thank the officers and men of the Nigerian Army for the great work you are doing for our country, for the great work you are doing to keep the security and the sanctity of our nation, the great work you are doing and bring to you that can help you, that can ensure that you can also be a source of support to your spouse, your husband.
Were given to winners of various tugs of war competitions.
I believe, I know I can count on me.
As a way of discouraging overconsumption of sugar, checking obesity, and also generating more money to fund the 2022 budget. The NLC therefore asked the National Assembly to urgently amend the sections of the Finance Act which reintroduce excise duties on non-alcoholic and carbonated drinks. We are now joined by Comrade Amechi Osugunu, NLC Deputy President. Good evening, Mr. Osugunu.
Good evening, madam. Thank you.
Well, the organized labor says the federal government's imposition of excise duties on locally produced non-alcoholic
so that we don't begin to suspect there are people that are bringing these awkward ideas, discouraging production that are already taking place in the country. And whereby this happens, You know, the same thing like we earlier mentioned in the press release by the NSC president. The same thing happened to Michelin and Dunlop, the tire companies that folded up and they relocated to Ghana. And they are doing well. So anytime we want to talk about increase or moderation, look at the reason canvas over sugar. The product is not coming today. These are average drinks that almost all families in Nigeria take. Look at the artisans. Some of them, they take a soft drink and possibly little things, snacks to chew in the afternoon, and it becomes their lunch. And they go about doing the business that is keeping them off crime. So anytime you attempt to raise increase on product like this, the same Nigerians will indulge in substandard carbonated drinks that will be more hazardous than what you think to prevent.
Well,
I believe the use of orientation is better served than this idea. Government saying they need more money and the action they're taking. How many people are taking soft drink? But people eat rice every day in this country.
Okay,
are we going to get to a point where we're going to now impose tax again on day-to-day item we consume?
Okay,
let's look at. We should know our limit.
Let's look at the NLC's request to the National Assembly to urgently amend.
This is how the hazardous challenge of low salary in the country. So we believe the National Assembly should do a reverse on that very article. I think it was an oversight for National Assembly to have indulged in this idea of imposing tax on something that we produce here. If we're talking about tariff now, we're talking about custom duties, importation, more or less taxes that are imposed on imported goods. But as I speak with you, there is already an approved mandate to NSC to resist the proposed increase on PMS. So if this is going to be added to it, there is going to be a multi-action, because I know NSC will stop at nothing in resisting any policy that will be anti-people. And this is one of them we see.
Well, thank you so much, Comrade Amechi Asugono, NLC Deputy President. Thank you for your time.
God bless.
And we hope there won't be protests.
We hope the action will not affect us too.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, over the years, disasters of various magnitude are becoming more frequent, intense, and geographically diverse.
The calamity happens. Even you that saw it and didn't, they should be saddled with the responsibility of talking to Nigerians. Apart from their civic responsibilities, there must also be a concerted effort to let Nigerians know what to do when you notice anything going forward.
The Ogun State government says it is doubling efforts to regulate and enforce rules on averting building collapse in the state. The Commissioner for Fiscal Planning and Urban Development in the state said the government is set to introduce what he termed a non-destructive test for all new buildings in the state. Our Ogun State correspondent Habibat Ajayi reports.
2021 saw a number of building collapse in the country, and Ogun State is not an exception. A classroom building of Nazareth High School recently collapsed during school hours at Imekwa for Ogun Southwest, killing one pupil. A report shows that in the last 10 years, spanning 2009 to 2019, the Southwest recorded 34 buildings. Political planning and urban development in Ogun State, Olatuji Odulami, argues that the building collapse has been underreported.
The other, causes like, substandard building materials, use of quartz on building sites, is a source of worry. We discovered that in the market, either as a result of high costs of procurement of those materials, or the tendency of people to cut corners. There are a lot of substandard building materials, on sale in the towns, across the states. Somebody has bought materials on site. The owner has engaged quartz to supervise his building. Regulatory agencies should be come and say, no, cannot use this material. No, this person is not certified.
Ogun State is restating its resolve to put its eyes on the quality of plaque, block, and other building materials produced in the state to ensure they meet the standard. Abibat Ajayi, PlusTvAfrica, Ogun State.
The National Forum for Southeast Presidency has endorsed the former Imo State Governor Rochas Okorocha for 2023 presidency. The national president of the advocacy group, Dr. Patrick Ugnumiku, says Senator Okorocha is one of the detribalized visionary leaders that has all it takes to lead Nigeria out of her many troubles. According to Dr. Enuneku, the group has been on the advocacy of realizing the vision of 2023, and he believes Senator Okorocha has the track record as well as credentials to rule Nigeria. In his response, the former governor thanked the group for endorsing him for the 2023 presidency, assuring Nigerians of building a solid economy that will favorably compete with other nations of the world.
The message now is that who are these Igbo persons that you think, one, can stabilize the economy, two, has the capacity to rule this country, three, can bring peace across the Niger. That is the criteria we are setting for ourselves. And among those that are fitting to these characteristics, that is one, those that have bring peace across the Niger. Two, those that have the financial muscle to push it. And three, those that have the capacity to initiate good programs that can move this country forward and stabilize the economy. One of them is Chief Senator, His Excellency Richard.
We have been canvassing for a Nigerian president of Southeast extraction, mainly for the purpose of equity, fairness, and balanced arrangement in Nigeria. So on that basis, we are consulting every Igbo man who have the capacity to lead the Nigerian nation, who must be an Igbo man. So on that basis, we have come here, to consult with him, to discuss with him, to air and hear his mind with respect to contesting for the president of Nigeria come 2023.
For me, if I want to run for president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and I think I'm qualified, then I should be able to showcase my vision. The primary thing in this country is, the question I ask myself, do I have the capacity to unite this country so that everyone will see themselves as brothers and sisters, members of one family? And after I said that question, I asked myself, I can fix this country, I can do this country.
The Cross River State Governor, Ben Ayade, has reiterated his commitment to ensuring that power returns to the Southern Senatorial District of the state come 2023, while addressing some stakeholders of the All Progressive Congress at the Governor's Lodge in Calabar. Ayade said his decision to return power to the South was based on morality. The governor insisted that the South had credible people with capacity to be governor. The governor, who decried the nature of democracy as currently being practiced, noted that there was need to infuse the sensitivity of the African culture. 22 suspected crude oil thieves have been arrested by operatives of the Nigerian Navy along the Akassa River in Brass local government area of Bayelsa State. The suspects and the vessel used in perpetrating the crime have been handed over to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the E.F.C.C, for prosecution. Our correspondent in Bayelsa State, ZAZFARA, covered the handing over.
Entities 4 was intercepted on December 6, 2021, with 15 crew members on board for allegedly transporting about 700,000 liters of stolen crude. Investigation by operatives of Nigerian Navy ship NNS Soro led to the arrest of 7 other collaborators. The Navy is not empowered to prosecute. This is a handover ceremony.
We have established the fact that the vessel and her crew are complicit in crime that border on economic sabotage. As a result of that, we are here today to officially hand over the vessel and our crew to the Economic and Financial Crime Commission. We will be signing the handing over and taking over notes.
The E.F.C.C promises to do a thorough job in its investigation of the crime.
On behalf of my zonal commander, I hereby take over MTTIS-4 and the crew member. After this official taking over, E.F.C.C will now commence its action of investigation. And after the investigation, the needful will be done in accordance to the law.
The interception of the fuel vessel on the sea looked to be a major breakthrough for the Navy in 2021, as securing the nation's waterways and the resources therein still remains its core duty. ZAZFARA for PlusTvAfrica.
Still ahead on Plus News Now. Sudanese protest group rejects United Nations initiative to hold talks with military authorities. Details when we return.
And just as a stag loses its antlers each year, we believe in letting down our guard and seeking out uncertainty to embrace the unknown. It's how we go forward, how we grow stronger, and how we make our whiskey. Glenfiddich, where next?
Life can be fun and rewarding, but it also comes with some risk. As in business, you win some, you lose some. And that's why you need to be wise in the choices you make. It's like placing a bet. Again, you need to be wise. Wise in choosing an innovative platform with the highest market options and highest odds ever. That's why Winners Golden Bet, the leader in online, in-shop, virtual, and live sports betting.
Airstrike in Ethiopia's local authorities and eyewitnesses' accounts. The footage also showed damaged buildings and tents in what was purported to be the camp. Mali's interim authorities have slightly reduced the proposed length of a transition back to democracy following a 2020 military coup to 4 years from 5 years. Leaders of the 15-member Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, are holding an extraordinary summit in Ghana's capital, Accra, to discuss a proposal by transitional authorities to Mali to delay elections and a return constitutional rule. The transitional government initially agreed to hold presidential and legislative elections in February 2022, 18 months after Colonel Assimi Goïta led the overthrow of President Boubacar Ibrahim Keïta. It has made little progress since then, blaming this organization and a rush of Islamist violence. At the end of last year, it informed ECOWAS of its plan to extend the transition to 5 years. A leading Sudanese protest group has rejected a United Nations initiative to hold talks with the military aimed at restoring the country's democratic transition following an October coup. The move suggests Sudan's political deadlock and relentless street protests are likely to continue, with at least 60 people killed with the military takeover. The UN offer on Saturday came a week after embattled Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok resigned, citing a failure to reach compromise between the generals and the pro-democracy movement. The October 25th coup scuttled hopes of a peaceful transition over 2 years after a popular uprising forced the military overthrow of longtime autocrat Omar al-Bashir and his Islamist government. In a statement, the Sudanese Professionals Association, which led the uprising against al-Bashir, said the only way out of the ongoing crisis is through the removal of the generals from power. Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Moussa Faki Mahamat, has commended the release of senior opposition political figures detained in Ethiopia. The statement came after the Ethiopian government released high-level and senior opposition party members who were in prison over the past years on Friday. Among those released include Sibat Nega, former senior leader of the Tigray People's Liberation Front, a rebel group currently engaged in a deadly conflict with the Ethiopian government. Nega was detained during the early days of the ongoing conflict that started in November 2020. According to the chairperson of the Pan-African Ambassador Hussein Katanga, who termed them as structural changes. Suluhu relieved from their duties the Minister of Lands, Housing and Human Settlements, William Lukuvi, Minister of Industry and Trade, Kitila Mkombo, Minister of Investment, Geoffrey Mwambe, and the Minister of Constitution and Legal Affairs, Palamagamba March of 2021. President Cyril Ramaphosa says South Africa should step up COVID-19 vaccinations, urging members of his governing African National Congress ANC party to fight vaccine hesitancy in communities. Nearly 40% of the country's adult population has been fully vaccinated, higher than in many other African
No. Aha. Well done. Hip, hip, hooray. Have a Merry Picmas.
I miss them.
Well, they should be on their way by now.
Will it feel like it used to? With everyone so busy these days.
It will be fine.
Suddenly, feels like I'm gonna fall. I can see all of my dreams so perfectly.
Oh, yeah, line up! Single file!
Love's not a dream at all. Somebody,
Grandpa,
can
what was Grandma
rescue me.
like?
0.36% from a revised 136.57 trillion naira in 2021 to 149.35 trillion naira in 2022. For inflation, the minister stated that it is projected to be double digit in the medium term, given structural issues impacting cost of doing business, including high food distribution, as a steady decline of inflation is expected to sustain for the year. The relatives of 1,209 deceased workers were paid 6.18 billion naira under the contributory pension scheme from April to June last year. The National Pension Commission announced this in its report on death benefit for the second quarter of 2021. The Commission said it had earlier put in place stringent measures on benefits payment after it raised the alarm that some fraudsters were collecting pensions of some living contributors. However, the Commission has noted in recent times an increase in death payment that did not meet the required internal control measures, hence the need to strengthen the death payment process. PENCOM said it will review requests for payment of death benefits claims and approve or decline requests. The federal government has selected 12 states for the pilot phase of the conversion of vehicles using petrol and diesel to enable them to run on liquefied petroleum gas, also known as AUTOGAS. A correspondent gathered that engineers with 4 automobile manufacturers had already started receiving training on how to convert vehicles assembled or produced in Nigeria to start using AUTOGAS instead of petrol or diesel. The Program Manager, National Liquefied Petroleum Gas Expansion Implementation Plan, Dayo Additional, told our correspondent on Friday that the LPG component in the AUTOGAS initiative will be implemented in 12 states. The National LPG Expansion Implementation Plan is domiciled in the Office of the Vice President and has been making moves to ensure the usage of gas both for cooking in automobiles and for other purposes. According to Additional, the 12 states are Lagos, Ogun, Bauchi, Gombe, FCT, Niger, Katsina, Sokoto, Ebonyi, Enugu, Delta, and Bayelsa State. Since 2019, the federal government has been pushing for a switch from using petrol and diesel to empower vehicles to AUTOGAS, with the declaration of 2020 as the year of gas. And out of over 15,000 applicants from women-owned small and medium-scale enterprises, SMEs across Nigeria, 200 women entrepreneurs and 50 special Speaking at the graduation ceremony, the U.S. Ambassador to Nigeria, Beth Leonard, expressed her pride in the women's dedication and hard work to strive to be outstanding in their businesses. And Britain's main opposition, Labour Party, has urged the government on Sunday to do more to protect families from rising power costs, calling for a windfall tax on North Sea oil and gas to offer people more help to deal with growing energy bills. Labour, which leads the governing Conservatives and the polls, is keen to set the agenda on energy, piling pressure on Prime Minister Boris Johnson to act before an expected rise in the price cap, which sets the maximum rate a supplier can charge annually on a dual fuel tariff in England, Scotland and Wales. Soaring wholesale energy costs have put pressure on the industry, with more than 20 energy companies, often supplying both gas and electricity to homes and businesses, having collapsed. And that's the end of business news. My name is Destiny Momo. Thanks for watching.
Well, thank you, Destiny. And sports news is up next.
Italy-based defender Tyrone Ebohi joined up with the squad in Garua, meaning only left-back Jamilu Collins is still expected at the team's hotel Ribadu de Garua. The Eagles file out against the Pharaohs in what is potentially the peak of the group's battles at the Stade Rumde Agia as from 5 p.m. Cameroon time on Tuesday. Nigeria is led by Augustine Eguavoin, who was on field captain when the Eagles won the title in Tunisia in 1994, and then coached the Eagles to third place in Egypt 12 years later in 2004. He was assistant to coach Christian Chukwu when the Eagles picked up the bronze medals in Tunisia. Soft-spoken but tactically astute, Egwovoin is the only man to have coached Nigeria to win all 3 group phase matches at the AFCON when they defeated Ghana, Zimbabwe and Senegal in the Port Said at the 2006 finals in Egypt. His team also bundled out cup holders Tunisia after a pole-setting penalty shootout in the quarterfinals. Nigeria striker Victor Osimhen has recovered from coronavirus. His club Napoli made this known on Thursday via their Twitter handle. His recovery is coming 2 days to Nigeria's first game at the ongoing African Cup of Nations. The prolific striker had been traveling to Italy for a checkup on Friday. Osimhen also tested positive for COVID-19 last year, January, after returning from Christmas holidays in Nigeria. His participation in AFCON had been a subject of controversy between Nigeria Football Federation and his club Napoli. Nigeria later succumbed to dropping Osimhen for AFCON, replacing him with Henry Onyekuru, who is also at the last finals in Egypt. Informed squad raider Emmanuel Dennis, whose English Premiership club is Bearing Fangs, has been excused to provide room for Czech Republic-based forward Peter Olayinka. Goalkeeper Edouard Mendy and striker Famara Day Africa's biggest football competition, the African Cup of Nations, will kick off on Sunday. The host nation, Cameroon, will take on Burkina Faso. In the past few weeks, there has been a lot of drama surrounding the competition. Just a few days before Christmas, many fans and the media were not sure the competition was going to hold as planned. The fear was fueled by the refusal of some European clubs to release their players on time. There were accusations and counter-accusations which some saw as the blatant disrespect of the continent's biggest competition by the foreign media. This saw former Arsenal legend Ian Wright and Patrick Vieira call for more respect for the tournament. There was the accusation that CAF itself was not ready to conduct its own tournament by some quarters of the African fan base and the media. Chief amongst these accusations was the one leveled against Gianni Infantino, the current president of the World Football Governing Body, FIFA. It was alleged that Infantino and his team at FIFA wanted AFCON postponed to possibly satisfy the Europeans, who are obviously the powerhouse of football.
And the main news again. 30 federal government college students and teachers have regained freedom after 6 months of abduction. Mali military interim leaders will hold elections in 4 years. ECOWAS meets in Ghana. And at least 164 people have been reported dead in Kazakhstan's anti-government protests. Well, that's the news update. For more stories, please follow us at Plus TV Africa on Facebook and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. I am Maureen Menno Mwezigwe. Thanks for watching News Now.